Hey guys, welcome to She Talks Life and Faith. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about, I'm sure many of you guys heard about the passing of boxing legend George Foreman. It was over a few days ago over the weekend, and he, I believe, passed away at age 76 and in Houston. And I'm sure many of you, that's how I knew about him, knew of his boxing career, which was, it was I think that was what he was most known for. But I wanted to reflect and kind of like talk about his other side, which was his faith. And I don't know if a lot of you knew, but he was actually a preacher. He had a church, and we watched his movie.
Right. The movie was Big George Foreman.
Yeah, we watched it over the weekend. And wow, I mean, to me, it was a very inspiring movie. It was, I would say, one of the best that I've seen out there. So I kind of wanted to talk about it because I think it's always good to learn from other people's experiences and apply them to ourselves. That's what I always want to talk about here on our podcast. We just want to talk about just positive things and how to overcome obstacles, because we all face different obstacles. I mean, not everyone faces the same obstacle, but we all face obstacles. And I just really was impacted by it, that I said, I have to talk about it. I have to take a moment and talk about it. And although he's no longer here, but his legacy, what he left I would say a huge impact in not just in boxing. And myself, I was kind of blown away. I really was not so aware of this other side. I was more aware of his boxing side. And it was very it really showed me another side. That's why I wanted to talk about it. I think if you haven't seen the movie, I'm just talking about for myself, but if you were looking for something inspiring, that's gonna uplifting, that's a good family film, faith, it's all, I would say it fits all the boxes. That's the movie to watch, in my opinion. It's a really great movie. So I just wanted to talk about it. I'm not going to be giving away all the details, obviously, but it's just about his life and how we all face adversities, different types of adversities. You watched it with me, and what is your take on it? I'll be talking about what I got from it.
I grew up on George Foreman when I was a kid. I would actually see his infomercials all the time, right? And the George Foreman grill.
Yes.
The lean, mean grilling machine is what he would call it.
Yeah.
And I actually bought one when I got a little bit older, because it was such a big thing, right? So you always saw him in the infomercials at late at night, because I was always an insomniac kid. So I always stay up late at night and I'll see George Foreman on TV. Oh, there's the grill. So that's how I knew him as a kid. As I got a little bit older, I realized more about him as a boxer, but not. See, I grew up on Mike Tyson, in the early 90s, so that's who was around, who was real big when I was a kid. George Foreman was a little bit right before, but I do remember actually seeing a couple of his fights here and there on TV. I didn't really know a lot about him, but now they came out with this movie, right, not too long ago, and I had been wanting to watch the movie for a little while. Unfortunately, we heard about his passing, and he was a person that, like you said, left a big impact in the world. Yeah. And watching this movie just showed how big of a amazing person he was, because of all the adversity he went through. So I'll let you talk a little bit of just kind of go into it, and I can talk about it too. But I thought the movie was great.
Yeah, I think. Well, I heard about the movie from you, and like you said, unfortunately, I watched it the weekend of his passing. I had heard about it and finally got around to watching it, and I said, let me watch it just to learn more about him, and I'm glad I did, so I can share it with everyone. I think it's a must watch for me. It's I'm not always going to be promoting movies, but if I do come across a movie, a book, a story, something that I know is going to be beneficial, and I know it impacted me in a positive way, I'm always going to share it with others, because I think that's always good to share anything that uplifts you or is inspiring with other people. And for me, it's just without giving away the movie, let me see, what can I say? I would say it's a movie that no matter where you come from, You know, a lot of times you see people, and you see them in the pinnacle of their career. You see them financially successful. You see everything they have, and you might be like, oh, why? You know, you might be, they have all this. They had it easy, but you don't know the backstory. And I think that's what this movie really portrays. It shows the backstory. I even got emotional seeing some of the things that you know, the way he grew up.
Yeah, he grew up in the Fifth Ward, which is in Houston.
Without saying a lot, you know, but I don't think that's revealing a lot. He just grew up in Houston in one of the most, I would say, not only not nicer neighborhoods, but very tough. I would say a kind of crime, you know, a neighborhood that had maybe a lot of crime.
Yeah.
And so to see, and I think that's what I liked about the movie, that sometimes you're not where you come from. You could come from like not the best, you know, the wrong side of the tracks, as people say, but that just because you do, it doesn't mean you're going to stay there. And I think for me, my take was, especially when, you know, when with God, and I think if you watch the movie and as you hear it, you know, with God and with perseverance, because I think God works, but you also got to put your part. And that's what my take from the movie, that with discipline and with work, and of course no one's perfect. We're all gonna have some stumbles along the way, I guess you could say, but it's about how you overcome them, the things that are thrown at you with life. And that was my take. Like I would say, you know, there were some big adversities that he faced, challenges that I don't know how I would handle them. I don't want to reveal the movie, but I guess just sometimes some situations that are, I mean, I think you know what I'm talking about. Like, just what was your take on?
Well, my take, you know, is that God can change people around completely, and he was a person that was open to that, and nobody would have ever probably thought that of him, because he kind of put a persona. You know, I think of it like the WWE, where the wrestlers, they put on a persona, and they put on this character, and he wanted to be seen as like the baddest boxer in that time. You know, you wanted to be feared. But deep down, I think he was not that kind of person, right? So like I think he had that not wanting to be like that, not wanting to be a person that people saw like feared him. And I think when he had a godly encounter, he changed and he became a whole different person, even the way he looked.
Yeah, and I think what you said, it's a good point, because I think we all go through stages. And you see the stages in his life, and I think you can apply it and kind of reflect in your life. You know, in a lot of times when we're young, and in his younger years, you know, you wanna maybe you put on a different persona, and I think that's what you're talking about. And then you see how he evolves. Like you see how he evolves from a person who maybe his faith was not strong to a person of great faith that became, you know, a man of God's word, and just you see the transformation. That's what I liked about the movie. You see the transformation, because I don't want to give away the movie, but it's a movie about transformation. I would say that's one of the other transformation, overcoming huge adversities, obstacles, not being defined by where you come from. And also there's some, I guess, forgiveness there. I mean, it's a lot of in there, and it's just a really good movie. So I wanted to talk about it, share it with you guys, and just remind you, you know, if you haven't seen it, someone must watch. You should watch it. I mean, for me, I really enjoyed it, and I think you would come back. Like being,
I found out also, you know, he had hair, right? And then there's that time frame where he didn't have hair anymore. So I looked into the story of what happened. So when he became a Christian, he didn't want to go to the barbershops because he didn't want to hear negativity from people about his decision. So what he started to do was he got some clippers, and he saw that he can change the clippers and kind of give himself like a little bit of a fade. And so he started just cutting his own hair to avoid going to barbershops and hearing any kind of negativity about kind of his changes in his life. Well, one day he's cutting his hair and he forgot to put the clipper on, and he did like an S, and he just messed up his hair. He couldn't fix it. So he said, you know what? He started shaving his head, and he wore a beanie.
Oh, that's an interesting backstory.
Mm-hmm. So he goes to an ice cream parlor, and he's been going there, and I guess he liked some girl that worked there. Well, one day he goes and he forgot to put the beanie, and these girls laughed at him, and he said, I never went back then. I was so embarrassed. And then he went home, he looked at himself in the mirror, and he's like, wait, I have money in the bank. I'm driving a nice car, a Cadillac, and I'm doing well. Why am I embarrassed? Why am I feeling like this? And so after that, he decided he's always going to be bald and just not be embarrassed of the way he looks, that he's happy the way he looks. Mm-hmm. And if he's happy of the way he looks, people should be happy as well. And he realized that he was being hard on himself.
Well, that's not in the movie. That's just something.
That's just a little backstory.
A little backstory you came across. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there, individuals that you can learn from, and I guess you were digging up and came across that.
Yeah.
The thing I came across was just interviews about him that I wish I would have known this more. I came across a few interviews when he was talking about his how he regained his faith. He had I would say like a moment, mm-hmm. a miraculous moment in Puerto Rico is what he said, where I guess after something, I believe a fight, and that's kind of where his transformation began. And just mm-hmm. different interviews I came across where he was talking about his faith that I never really heard about, and I wish I would have known this more about him. Like you mentioned, I knew more about the grill, and that and there's a story to that. If you watch the movie, mm-hmm. you'll see why he came across that. And like I mentioned, that's what I liked about it. That for me, what I took, that sometimes God will turn a negative, and big negatives that could maybe make some people, just put them in a bad spot. Mm-hmm. But because he really relied heavily on his faith, and to also talk about, he did grow up with a Christian mother. It sounds like his mother was a woman of faith, and all you women out there who have kids or just anyone, not even women, just who you have a family member who might not be a person of faith, maybe a non-believer, don't give up, pray for them, because from what I gathered from the movie, his mom's prayers, were answered. Maybe not immediately, but eventually they were answered, because it sounds like his mom instilled in him those values and that faith. But sometimes you have to go, and eventually you'll meet there yourself at the right time. So very inspirational movie. I really, really enjoyed it. I just had to take a minute, and definitely my condolences to his family, anyone who met him. But we have to remember, there's a scripture that I really like that says to be absent of the body means to be present with Christ. And so we know, we have to always believe that those who have faith are now with Christ. And just now we have to just focus on the legacy. And if you ever have a moment, take some time to watch it. Anything else that you want to say?
Just again, just the legacy that George Foreman leaves behind. I mean, he accomplished so much coming from such a hard life. I mean, really coming from the bottom to all the way to the top. And it just shows that no matter your background, no matter where you come from, you can accomplish anything if you really put your mind to it. It doesn't matter where you come from. And with God will take you even to another step, even higher. And that was really impactful to me, the fact that, his story, how he changed his life around and really, did so much even after boxing. So
I think
and one of the hardest hitters, and even Mike Tyson said that he was the strongest puncher that he's ever seen. That's how strong this guy was.
I think that definitely it was a God-given talent that God used, to give him that platform to reach others, because through that that's how I came to know George Foreman, through his boxing, and that's what, and he used that platform to, for positive, and yeah, like we were talking about, for me the main thing is, it's a story of, with God and perseverance, and with God anything is possible. So anyone out there, you looking for something nice to watch, movie night.
Big George Foreman is the name of the movie.
Yes.
Highly recommend. It's actually on, it's on Hulu, I believe.
Yeah,
but you can
I'm not sure, but you can find it out there or rent it, but I would recommend it. So that's all I wanted to share. Take a moment to reflect and talk about his legacy and the great legacy that he left. And if you want to watch it, check it out. And thank you for listening to us.